Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Devotion. How are you? It's Tuesday, June 27th, and let's begin with a bow to our two parents, Chunjian, Champumanam Ge, Kyungbei, Baro, Kajang Mengse. I don't know who is our reader today. Is it Youngju or Emily?
Yeah, I can read today.
Thank you.
1. 천을극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 번영 다를 찾아 본연의 창조 이상임 지상 천국과 천상 천국을 전군할 것을 맹세하나이다. 2. 천을극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 하늘 부모님과 전 부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 중심, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 성자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 3. 천일국주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 4대 심정권과 3대 왕권과 헌정권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 4. 천일국주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님의 창조 이상인 천주대 가족을 형성하여 자유와 평화와 통일과 행복의 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. 천일국주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 매일 주체적 전선세계와 대상적 지선세계의 통일을 향해 전진적 발전을 촉진화할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. 천일국주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 전 부모님의 대신 가정으로서 천운을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 7. 천일국주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 성화로 통하여 심장문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 8. 천일국주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 천일국 시대를 맞이하여 초대 신앙, 초대 사랑, 초대 복종으로 신인의 일체 이상을 이루어 지상 천국과 천상 천국의 해방권과 속박권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Thank you, Yeonju. Let's see, who would like to pray this morning? I think we'll go with the furthest away, Masako Whitmore in Anchorage, Alaska. Masako-san, could you pray for us?
Dearest Heavenly Parents, true parents, thank you so much. Your devotion, your love, you put the seed, true love seed, to all over the world. We have so many blessed people, blessed family all over the world. Heavenly Parents, now we have a wonderful second generation. They are really longing true mother, loving true mother, serving true mother. They are really determined to continue this tradition for our future. Heavenly Parents, we are so grateful gathering together this morning to learn about true parents' world. Every day we get so many inspiration from true parents' attitude, motivation. Heavenly Parents, we are so blessed people. We are so grateful. We really want to expand this blessing around us. Thank you so much. Your gave such a wonderful opportunity to share our heart, and also we can align faith to true parents. I'm very grateful to receive such a wonderful message this morning. So we really open our heart to really prepare for this new inspiration today. Thank you so much. I offer this small prayer. Master Whitmore Central Blessed Family, Aju.
Aju. Thank you very much, Misako-san. Okay, so this time let's have our breakout and share our gratitudes. Hey, welcome back. Hope you had a good breakout. I was with Santoros and with Robert, and I was sharing how I came across a recording on my iPhone. I have, I would record these little things. It's like you take pictures all the time and forget about them. And I had these unlabeled recordings, and I was looking at one from 2019. And I think it was Damien giving Sunday service at Finley Church in Los Angeles. I think it was right after he became president. And I was listening to that. I thought, well, this is just like listening to him now. He was already had this kind of excited focus and devotion to True Mother that was not yet common, or being expressed in the same way, but the same kind of heart then as he has right now. But I'm sure a lot of deepening happened during this time in Asia. So that was good. So who would like to show? I see Mike Kellett has his hand up. He's back. He was out in the trees in the mountains in the forest somewhere, but now he's back with his checkered curtain in the background. So Mike.
Yeah, now I've got my curtains here back in the Bay Area. No, I just the other day, a lot of times, as you well, everyone can attest to, that you say something and then you reflect, maybe I could have said that. But the other day I had mentioned that our father, in one of his talks back in the 80s when I was there at Belvedere, he said, I can't take off my forehead moon. He was always, right? He's always there, especially, his children and the challenges. And some, especially one of our sisters had shared being Asian and not being, an associate, especially if you're Asian too, having that stigma as a Moonie, right? And as your kids are growing up, and just be free that I'm a Unification Church member. But anyway, the expression then that Father expressed to us to use, well, don't use Moonie, use Sunny. So that was what I was trying to think of before. So anyway, that's all. Have a sunny day.
I remember that. Thanks for reminding me.
Sure.
Yes, who would like to share something about your gratitude, sir? Anything that we might want to hear about. Oh, there's Shirley. Morning, Shirley.
Yes, good morning, Reverend Larry, and all of our members. Michael, you brought to my mind a memory and a story that I heard many years ago. And I remember who told me this, but to be accurate, I'm not going to say who it was, but I know her daughter right now. And about Father saying he can't get moon off of his forehead. This lady told me that she was on a bus at one point. She was sitting in the back seat, right in the middle, and Jesus got on board. And he was standing right there in front, and she was in back, and she could see him directly. And he had a veil over his face. And she said, Lord Jesus, why do you have that veil over your face? And he said, because of what they did to me. And that's what I want to share this morning.
Wow. So that's really deep. The Bible says when the Messiah comes, he'll come with a new name. Oh, and yeah, that's something to think about. Thank you, Shirley. Walter and Rose.
Yeah, I posted in the chat. Today is a holy day in the Islamic tradition. Is Eid. It's called Eid al-Adha in Arabic, Eid-e-Korban in Farsi, but it celebrates the time when as we know, that Abraham went up on the mountain with Isaac to sacrifice. He was willing to sacrifice Isaac. In the Islamic tradition, it was Ishmael who went up there. But today's a special holiday, festival day in the Islamic community. So if you have their Islamic friends, make sure you say Eid Mubarak to acknowledge that with them. Yeah, thank you. I posted it in the chat.
Thank you.
Can we see it? All right, thank you, Walter. It's great. Mike, did you have your hand up or it went back down? I'm sure it was important. Mike Allen.
Yeah, hi. Just to further what Michael was saying, I remember when Father said that, don't use Mooney, use Sunny. And he said the moon just receives light, but a sun gives off light. See, that's what I want you to become, a person that gives off light. And we can do that. I'm studying what words of Jesus now, and he said, if you abide in me, then you'll bear much fruit. The fruit is love and joy and peace. And if we feel that we're loved, we can do great things. And I can attest to that in witnessing. Now, I'm not worried about if somebody calls me a Mooney or a poultice or something like that. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about any of these names. We're living in a completely different age now. I do ACLC work and witnessing on the street. And most people don't even know about Father Moon nowadays, Father and Mother Moon. They have no idea. We're dealing with an entirely new generation. Some of maybe the real old timers might remember the persecution. But if you're worried about being called a Mooney or being rejected because you're religious or something like that, don't worry about that stuff. That's from a different age. So you should just care about people, listen to them, care about them. That's a new way of witnessing. You don't have to push divine principle or true parents anymore. You just love people, and you'll become a sunny, giving off light, just naturally, unconditionally loving people. That's what God does with us. He unconditionally loves us.
Thank you, Michael. That's great. It is so true. People, they don't really know it's a new time. It's kind of a nice, we have this foundation of everything we've done and who we are, but then now we can testify to the only begotten daughter. Who's heard of the only begotten daughter? Why not? That's an interesting topic. It's not like she's competing with anybody. And it's not like we don't need parents. That's what we need more than anything in this world. Right? That's our selling point, I think. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Maybe we can go to our reading, I guess. Karen, you're going to do the reading today? We'll see here. Somebody will. Someone always does. Thank you.
Mother of Peace, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, a memoir by Hak Ja Han Moon, Chapter 4. God's light shines upon a path of thorns, Day 23. As the 1970s approached, it still was a turbulent time for the world. North and South Korean discord threatened to flare up into another war, and the international situation was volatile. Communism was expanding across the globe on many fronts. Knowing the inhumane brutality of communist governments from our personal experience, my husband and I launched a very successful educational initiative called Victory Over Communism, VOC. Ours was the only voice in the world to clearly explain the fallacies of its materialistic and atheistic theory while offering a God-centered counter-proposal. VOC strengthened the resolve and understanding of South Koreans, and it had a huge impact soon after in Japan, turning back its far left-wing factions through peaceful means. At that critical moment, my husband and I once again urged our members, especially the women, to take action. Our Heavenly Parent knows the power of women. Our movement did not truly begin until our couple's holy wedding, because we are a family movement and it takes a husband and wife to create a family. My husband is the world's foremost champion of women as the moral leaders of the family and society. With this conviction, we called Korean blessed wives to sacrifice their family life for a time, and as missionaries go to the streets, to the halls of government, to the churches and temples, and from house to house, to provide education, Empower the people and multiply the patriotic spirit. The wives responded. Each entrusted their young children and sometimes ill elderly parents to their husband's care and set out. The mother is the center of the family, and when she is not home, even for a day or two, the family suffers. Our wives and mothers went out, not for a day or two, but for 3 years. For every father who had to cradle and feed a child begging for his mother's milk, a mother on mission was squeezing milk out of her swollen breasts and weeping. It was almost like Jesus' 3 years of public ministry, or my husband's 3 years in a North Korean labor camp. Wives who were pregnant when going out would return to give birth, and after 100 days go back to their mission field. After the 3 years, when the mothers returned, their youngest children didn't recognize them and even resisted them. Such is the incredible sacrifice of heart offered to our Heavenly Parent for the restoration of the world. When a woman has a baby, she experiences the pain of childbirth. Despite this, the midwife's job is to encourage her to push more. Like midwives giving birth to a new world, my husband and I pushed our unification family members. Historically, every time danger appeared, the Korean people, farmers, and loyal patriots defended their homes and their nation. With that spirit, our members rose and defended their homes and nation against communism. My husband counseled these courageous women. The people do not understand unification now, but if the 30 million people of Korea join together with the Unification Church, this nation and these people will not perish. The blessed wives buried their pain in their hearts, for they knew that their mission was for the sake of the nation. In hindsight, their work has borne great fruit and can be considered the most praiseworthy act of patriotism. Thus far, it has been hidden from view in our nation's history, but one day it will be revealed. As the Unification Church spread to other countries, blessed wives around the world followed the example of the early Korean wives and their families. Thus, this brilliant chapter has been written in the history, not just of Korea, but of all nations. All blessed wives stand on this foundation and are carrying out this tradition. It is a story of women sacrificing to preserve the nation and world. One of its fruit appeared 20 years later in our meeting with Mikhail Gorbachev, then president of the Soviet Union. This opened the door to teach the young people of the former Soviet Union our God-centered worldview, the democratic spirit and ethical values, which contributed to the reconciliation of East and West and the downfall of communism. Another fruit was our trip to North Korea in 1991, when we met North Korean leader Kim Il-sung. Our harrowing but thoroughly triumphant visit opened the way for dialogue between North and South Korea and prepared a foothold for our work there. My last moment on earth is approaching. The foundation for our breakthroughs in the Kremlin and North Korea also includes the selfless work of European members. One day in the early 1980s, we received a one-page letter from one of them. It concluded with heart-rending words. My last moment on earth is approaching. This is the last greeting I give you here on earth. I will meet you in the spirit world. Please live a long and healthy life. This young man was behind the Iron Curtain in a communist prison, and this was his final letter, written just before his execution. The instant I read it, my body stiffened, as if my blood had turned cold and blue. My tears froze. I couldn't say anything. I felt like the fabled woman, Mang Busok, who died and turned to stone. I just stood there. My husband and I had to quietly, secretly hold such beloved people in our hearts. As the true parents of all people, our path with tears was perilous and desperate. Unable to talk with anyone about such things, we could only weep inside and proceed with broken hearts. For many years in Korea, whenever our members gathered, sooner or later, a lively discussion would take place about our movement strategy. We must turn our eyes to the wider world now, someone would say. Another would retort, isn't it too early? We don't even have a church building here in Korea. And a third would join the fray. Okay, so we build an attractive building, But if it's only for Korea, will God like it? Of course, my husband and I were well aware of the issues and knew that both evangelizing internationally and building a strong church in Korea were important. But we steadfastly chose the world over Korea. And as a result, the appearance of our first churches remained shabby. Up until the 1980s, we could not present to the nation even a single decent church building. Our members might have wished to have a place where they could gather with guests and comfortably hold services, but it was not to be. Small A-frame structures with green roofs were all we had. In the public square as well, people ridiculed us, asking why we and our members kept talking about restoring the world when we didn't even have a decent church building. From a humanistic perspective, they had a point, but they did not know the principle. Our church was created for a higher purpose, and we put working for humanity and the world first. The salvation of the world took precedence over our task in Korea. In 1958, our first missionary crossed the sea to Japan, and the next year, a few trusted members pioneered missions in the United States. Given the impoverished state of our Korean church, it was almost unthinkable to start foreign missions in Japan and the United States. But our purpose went beyond being solely a Korean group. To bolster these budding foreign missions, Father Moon undertook a 10-month world tour in 1965. The course included a period where he drove with a few followers to every state in the continental United States to consecrate prayer sites that we call holy grounds in each. He met our missionaries and their young members in the United States, Europe, and other countries, and met prominent public figures, including former US President Dwight Eisenhower. On this momentum, the flow of unification missionaries into Europe, Middle East, and South America began to rise. Supporting the organization and coordination of all these missions made conditions arduous, both in the mission field and in Korea. And sometimes Korean members would shake their heads and say, things are getting worse. But in the 1970s, the divine principle of the unification church spread through the world. Many tens of thousands of young people heard the lectures and left their old lives to dedicate themselves to God's providence. It wasn't long before the countries of the world, as though with one accord, gathered their energy to oppose us. But our movement was like a roly-poly toy. The persecution hit us and we bounced back. It hit us again and we bounced back again, even stronger. And
Thank you very much, Jr. You read the whole thing. You did it so well. I appreciate it. Wow. Oh, so much history, right? It's kind of like, especially old timers, some of us weren't that far back, some of us were, but the spirit of the times was very similar for many of us, right? So it's hard to read Mother's memoir without, I always get distracted and I start going back and memories come. Oh, I remember that person or that time, or we did that or that place. So it's really, yeah, it's our memoir too in some ways. We still have to write ours. All right, so let's go into our breakouts and share about reading what we learned. Okay, welcome back. Okay, I gotta get in the habit of unmuting and muting instead of just being an observer. Okay, yeah, any comments on your discussion and the reading? Okay, Richard, please.
Yeah, I'd like to ask if Kikuno Allen could share some of the things she shared with us as an earlier member going to Korea. Kikuno, can you do that?
Yes, please.
Well, I was about, it's 1968 I joined, and then I was, went to Korea at the time, the workshop, 1970, 71. At the time, one of 36 breath family wide Mrs. Lee shared, at the time of Korea, father has to send all breast wives to everywhere because Indian river freezes Korea. North Korea gonna attack. So protect spiritually, guarded South Korea. All breast wives left son and daughter, small children, some kids, they have to leave baby in the orphanage because nobody can do it, take care of it. And she said that she take care of us and worked up, but she said, I'm preparing to go to outreach in Pioneer. And she said, really seriously, I felt sacrifice, they are sincere, actually called filial piety, loyalty, obedience, and protect their nation. It's not just because of their just religious, but they are want to protect their nation. And two fathers, two parents right there, absolutely, they have to protect their nation. Otherwise, children gonna come and attack. Intense situation. But I really felt genuinely our elder, beloved Korean, our elder brothers and sisters, blessed couple are genuinely loyal, filial piety they offered, and I really appreciate that. When I think about their hearts and reality, I always give me, okay, Kikuno, you have to, even you have a difficulty, you have to keep going. And just help me to go on, even now.
Thank you, Kikuno. Yeah, we have such an amazing foundation. You know, there are many churches out there, but there is no church, no group of spirit, nobody like us. There's just not. You think about everybody just on this screen and you talk to them, their life story, their motivation, what they did, where they went, why they did it, what they suffered, what they're suffering, what's their hope. It's a remarkable, you know. So we have, you know, Christianity started out of nothing, you know, this murdered man on a cross of a failed movement, hated, reviled, you know, but we have father and mother have been able to extend their reach globally, you know, every culture, everywhere, because of this kind of foundation of sacrifice. So it's amazing. Yeah, we're amazing people. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Like in Kikuno, a historic couple, 1800, still smiling, still at it. Amazing. Don't give up. Okay. Anyone else like to share something? The hands aren't flying up today. There we go. Thank you, Caroline. You're muted, Caroline.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to follow up for what we were talking about before, was what Michael Allen said about the way to reach out to people. So yesterday I spent about 4 hours with a woman who has become a very dear friend of mine. And we just met because I took care of her cat once when she went to Peru. That was our foundation, and this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But I've been very patiently nurturing our friendship, so it's really become a very deep love that we have for each other. And so yesterday I was able to just I've been reading the Divine Principle 1 hour lecture for 100 times. And it does have value because it kind of allowed me then to encapsulate the principle to her. And then also to talk about the founding of our movement and how, the suffering of the true father, especially, and his little shack that he started with to what we have today. And she received it all, and she was very grateful. So it really is like Alexa Ward always says, it's patience and timing. Those are the two most important aspects to witnessing, taking your time until it's the right moment to share with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Patience and timing. Yep, it's true. Oh, Mike Kellett, you're back.
Back. I guess because in your mind, you get something just pounding at you. And the two words that came to me were the long game and the short game. And so as I alluded to earlier, I was up in Reno and with one of my contacts and connection, they sold their practice, and anyway, they are quite wealthy. But and to follow up here with our sister, with all the wealth people have, but her daughter, her name is Ava, my contact, which is interesting, Adam and Eve. But she's an elder woman with really wealthy. And anyway, her daughter was raped at the University of Santa Barbara many years before. And so an opportunity to teach the principle of how, the first woman was raped. And so what I want to share today in my group, I was with Jules Hack, and he has put together some divine principle very creatively. So, always like I realized how I need to be more sharp. And even today, this morning, I woke up early and I listened to the Sunhwa of Pat Deflison again, the whole thing. And, the depth of that and the points of taking responsibility for love. And so anyway, the point about witnessing long game and short game, I take pride in witnessing every day creatively. And yet still, we need the immediate, but then also nurturing. You never know, you're always nurturing, and there are people that are, as we talked about, don't really have any issue with Mooney or whatever, Moon was this or that. They're very able type, John the Baptist people, but we still, we can work with them, and they have so much foundation, but we have to teach them more deeply, and you don't know when it's going to come, that point. And so I think it's so precious that we have the divine principle and the understanding of the fall and spirit world and those points. But anyway, just want to share that.
Thanks again, Mike. Appreciate that. And Denise.
Good morning, everyone. The reading this morning was gave me quite a number of inspiring points, but one point I wanted to share was the reference to pushing members, equivalent to giving birth to a child. And as Annie said, that doesn't want to come out. And I know that, this really is a good depiction of how our lives of faith went. But True Mother further referenced women's role and how and really spoke to all women in our movement, not just Korean women or Japanese women, but all women. And it just reminded me of, I grew up in Guyana, and many women joined first before men. And many of their husbands persecuted them severely, and some even divorced. So women went around the world, walked a tremendous path in order to set up the foundations in nations. These were the first members of the Guyanese movement. And so when Mother acknowledged that so beautifully, also the point about pushing, and even though that brother was facing death and in prison, true parents could only, have the heart to silently bear that heavy burden. But they still had to keep pushing us, because Satan's world, to me, it's to cut through that thick layer of sin. It's not easy. So it just speaks to, Reverend Krishnik said about, how much foundation, how much work has gone into the Providence. It's unbelievable, like no other organization. That can't even be said enough. Yeah, the foundation is deep and strong. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Denise, for reminding us that. Amazing, yeah. Takes some time, but once things get going, if always using the metaphors of the garden, yeah, growing a garden, it takes time. Sometimes you plant a seed and it's there for a long time, or maybe a little sprout comes out and nothing happens, and then the sun gets warm enough and conditions are right, and then bam, things starts growing and you get fruit. If you stop watering it or stop taking care of it, it just dies. So anyway, it's coming. Anyone else care to share? We got some time here. Yeah, I haven't heard any new news about anything much. I don't know what River Thompson is doing, but I know it must be good because his wife is with him. And yeah, and I think Damien is back from his travels in Asia. So look forward to hearing what's next. But in the meantime, we're all focused on Chung Shim Wan and prayer and preparation for the future. So I think, okay, I'd wrap it up. I'd like to ask Jules Hack, could you offer a closing prayer for us, please?
Our most beloved Heavenly Parent, who is every day showing us the great love you have for all of us, for all of your children, or even those who don't really even know you yet or don't experience much of that love. You're still there for us, and we've learned about a God whose love is boundless and whose concern about us is boundless, and wants to reach every single person on this earth, if it were only possible, if we didn't resist so much. And even we ourselves, even though we're members, sometimes we have our barriers and we have to work on them every day. We pray, Father, so much for this precious movement to grow and have a huge impact, especially on this country of America, which plays such an important role in the world right now. And really to support Mother and her efforts to unify North and South Korea, and to bring really new hope to that country, that they can really truly believe and know that unification is possible. It's not a dream. It's not something that will never happen, as I'm sure many Koreans believe, but it's something that's really at hand, despite all the things that we see politically and militarily and in many other ways, frightening things we see in the world right now. But we know that Father God is the ultimate victor, and we know that we have our responsibility as well, and let us do what we need to do in order to support you, our Heavenly Parent and Mother and Father in the spirit world, and really do all we can to change, Father, this world. It can happen even dramatically, really in a very dramatic way that we don't really quite understand yet. But we really pray, Father, for your blessing on this morning devotion and all our brothers and sisters here joining in. And we want to offer this in the name of Jules and Seiko Hack, the blessed central family. Amen and Anju.
Love you.
Yeah, wow. Thank you very much, Jules. A beautiful prayer. Thank you, everybody. Wow, have a great day, fruitful day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yes, goodbye now.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Reverend
Bye,
Christian.
Reverend
Thank you,
Larry.
Youngju,
Thank
Karen.
you, Denise.
Nice
Thank
tie,
you,
Larry.
Mike. Thank you.